morning, Inklings. I'm Bianca and welcome back to my channel. I'd like to begin by showing respect to and acknowledging the Whadjuk Noongar people, elders past and present, the traditional owners and custodians of the land I'm filming this video on today. Today is the day, the most exciting day of the year. It is time to do the mid-year book freakout tag. I'm obsessed with watching people do this tag. I'm pretty sure I did it last year too, if I'm not mistaken, which was probably my first year doing it. And now it is that time of year again, and I am so excited to do this tag. Okay, so if you're new to booktube, you need to hop on board and do this tag because I think a lot of people enjoy watching it. It's fun to do. First question, best book you've read so far in 2021? I've read a lot of really good books that I have loved, but there were two that stood out to me. The first one is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. So this one I buddy read with Leia and we both really loved this book. I've heard that people either love it or hate it. It's quite polarizing. And I do agree with some of the controversy surrounding it, but overall I think that V.E. Schwab did a really good job with what this book is, and she played it a bit safe and it worked out really well. Then my other favorite is Tweet Cute by Emma Lord. So I actually have not read the physical copy of this yet. I only got this very recently, but I listened to the audiobook and I fell in love. So this is kind of You've Got Mail, but young adult and involving Twitter. And this is just really heartwarming. Both of the main characters are involved with restaurants, and it's just cozy and wonderful and heartwarming and just cute. It's cute and I loved it. Then the best sequel you've read so far in 2021. Are you surprised that the best sequel I've read is Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare? I don't think you are. So if you don't know, I love the Shadowhunters books and we are currently rereading them for my book club, but this one we read when it came out because we couldn't not read it, and this was stunning. I think the Last Hours series is probably my favorite of the Shadowhunter books, so of course this had to be on my favorites list. And look how stunning this cover is. I'm obsessed. I don't want to talk too much about what happens in this book, but basically this is kind of historical urban fantasy and it involves demon hunters, but because this is set in a historical setting, we also get the benefit of amazing fashion, and the language and the drama is amazing. I love it. Also, Cassie Clare has been using a lot of fan fiction-y tropes with this specific trilogy, and I was a big fanfic reader back in the day, so that makes me even more obsessed with this trilogy. The third book comes out in 2022 and I cannot wait. New release you haven't read yet but want to. Okay, there are two. One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston and Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So for Malibu Rising, I read and adored The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I'm super pumped to read this as well, but I actually want to read all of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books when I read this one, and I want to reread The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo as well, so I'm thinking of doing that all in one go. Otherwise I'm never gonna do it. So really excited for this, and the cover is stunning. Then One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. So this is her second book. Her first book was Red, White and Royal Blue, which I loved. It's funny and new adult. I think that was one of my first new adult books that I read, and I'm obsessed with it. And I recently learned that this is supposedly kind of based on Kate and Leopold. So I love that movie. Very much here for this. And if this involves like time travel or something like that, you can bet I'm going to love this a billion times more. Then number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. The first one is The Heart Principle by Helen Huang. This is in the Kiss Quotient trilogy, I think that's what it's called, but I've read the first 2 books and love it. So this is adult romance. I think this was the first adult romance I actually read, so yeah, but I do love it. A lot of the main characters are autistic, so in the first book the girl is autistic, and then in the second book the male love interest is autistic, and its own voices because the author is autistic as well. And I don't know, it was just so well written, and I just love all of the characters so much. And in this trilogy, each book follows a different main character and it's about their love story. It's mainly these 3 guys who are friends, so now we're on to guy number 3 and to find his love story, and I'm so excited to see what happens to Huang. Then Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. So if you have not read The House in the Cerulean Sea, I'm begging you, do it. This book stole my heart last year. It was so good. Naturally, now I want to read everything else that TJ Klune has ever written, and when Under the Whispering Door comes out, I will be doing that. But apparently Under the Whispering Door is something about a ghost falling in love with a human. Something along those lines is what I've heard. If you don't know already, I'm not a huge fan of reading blurbs because they really skew the way that I read a book. So I tend to like going into books pretty blind, which is probably really weird and not the best thing to do, but I can't bring myself to do it any other way. Okay, and then biggest disappointment. I don't like talking about books that I didn't like, but the biggest disappointment for me was probably These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I really wanted that book to be focused a lot more on the romance and Romeo and Juliet side of things, but this was a lot less focus on that. It had a lot more to do with the politics and a really weird like monster virus type thing that was happening at the time, which just wasn't my vibe and what I was looking for that, you know. I was thinking, you know, like Gatsby meets Romeo and Juliet with the fashion and the parties, and just didn't get that. It was a lot more people being sick and dying and hospitals, and it was also a bit gross. Anyway, so not a huge fan of it and I'm very sad about it. I did own a copy, but I recently unhauled it. Biggest surprise. This is my set of all of the Jane Austen novels, but I'm specifically talking about Pride and Prejudice here, which happens to be on the cover. So I had never read the book before. I tried to start it a bunch of times, but the mistake I made was reading it really late at night, and classics and my brain when it's sleepy do not mix. So reading during the daytime went much better for me, and I also read this while I was watching the TV show, so automatically my brain was understanding things a lot more and I got into the vibe a lot better, and I loved it. This was such a good book and I already loved the story, so I think it just surprised me because of how much I struggled to get into it. I love it, and now I actually really want to write a Pride and Prejudice retelling. So yeah, and you actually get a lot more from the book and from the BBC series than you do from the movie, and up until recently that was the only one I had seen, but please watch it or read the book because you get so much more invested in Mr. Darcy, and yeah, I loved it. Number 7, favorite new author, debut or new to you, and that is very probably Emma Lord, who is the author of Tweet Cute, and I also read her other book, You've Got a Match, which I really enjoyed as well, and now I'm here for anything and everything she will publish in future, so that's really fun. I love finding new author favorites. Then newest fictional crush, Mr. Darcy, of course. I'm obsessed with him now, it's official, so there we go. I get it now. I get it why everyone is so obsessed with him. Then newest favorite character. I didn't really know how to answer this. I tend to really like the protagonist while I'm reading a book. So for this answer, I'm just going to say Lizzie Bennet, just because of how much I'm invested in their story together. And she's a good main character. She really is. Then number 10, a book that made you cry. Okay, so a few did. I'm pretty sure I cry more than most people in general. So that means I cry at books more too. But a book that I remember making me cry most recently is A Kind of Spark by Al McNichol. This is a middle grade, and this is also Own Voices about a character with autism, and she's a little girl, and it's a really cute but like real and heart-wrenching story. And I love the journey of the main character. I think her name is also Addie. And yeah, it made me cry. I definitely really recommend this to people to read because it's also really something that you can learn a lot from. The number 11, a book that made you happy. Okay, I distinctly remember the Geekerella Once Upon a Con trilogy making me very happy. So this, similar to the Kiss Quotient, is a trilogy. This is young adult romance though, it's not adult. So young adult romance, but these are all to do with a comic convention. So yeah, actually when I first started reading it, I thought it meant like once upon a con job, like conning someone, but it actually is for the convention. But yeah, anyway, either one actually makes sense when you think about it, beside the point. But the first story, Geekerella, was super cute. So it's a geeky Cinderella retelling, and if you don't know, I'm a fangirl. I don't know, I just love those sorts of things about people geeking out about something that they love, and this story just made me really happy, and it also involved fandom in a really real and meaningful way. Much like Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, which is one of my other favorite books, so this just spoke to me on a personal level, and it made me really happy. Even if it wasn't the best book in the world, it has flaws, there's a lot of things that could have been better, but I gave it a 5-star just because of how much it made me happy. Then number 12, most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. Okay, so there are a few. I have shown you this one before, so I'm not going to go that much into it, but I do think this is the most beautiful cover, and this is also stunning underneath the dust jacket. And then for my birthday, I don't think I've shown you these on my channel before, but for my birthday, I did receive some vouchers to buy books with, and I went a bit extreme. So I bought books that I would not normally buy for myself. But I thought because it was my birthday and I had the vouchers, I might as well get something that I've been wanting for a long time. So first up, I got Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, illustrated by Rydell. My sister and I love his work. We have a few more of his books. I'm just obsessed. This is a big book, and the illustrations are gorgeous. I'm obsessed with it. It's beautiful, and it is a hardcover. Then I also got this stunning collection of Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales, and this is just, I don't know, it's beautiful. Gold sprayed edges, and it has a bookmark, and I'm obsessed. I don't have words. I just love beautiful books. I'm a cover buyer in general, so this has made me very happy. We're nearly at the end. Okay, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? So many. Okay, there's a lot that I need to read, but probably the ones I showed you before, so One Last Stop and Malibu Rising, because I haven't read them yet, and then all of the new releases that are coming out that I also mentioned previously that I do really want to read, And then I recently made a video showing some of my books that I've owned since before BookTube, and it would be really, really great if I could read a bunch of those that I haven't read yet, because I've owned them for a really long time. They've been sitting on my shelf and it makes me feel really bad that I have not read them yet. Last question, favorite book community member. Okay, so my most favorite person in the world is my best friend Leia, and I'm going to mention her for this one because how can I not? She always really motivates me to keep going with this when I feel bad about myself, and we've been doing so many fun things together to do with books. So our book club, and we run our Instagram page, we do our live shows together, and it's just really fun being able to do something together because we live in different countries, and she's my favorite person. Favorite people that I like to watch other than her, I have a few, but recently I have really been loving Books and Lala, Darling Desi, Alexandra Roslin. Those are probably my top 3 like bigger booktubers that I love to watch. And that is the end of this tag. If you're watching it and you have not done this video already, I tag you to do it. I will see you next time. Keep thinking, Inklings. Bye.